Hour number 2 of Orange Nation underway on ESPN Syracuse, ESPN Utica Rome, QSportsTalk.com. Stephen Fonte to my left. I'm Jordan Capozzi. Syracuse is going to be in a fight tomorrow against North Carolina. This song, Fight, by our artist of the day, Huncho, the Atlanta rapper, chosen by one, King Joseph Edwards.
All right, let's keep the interviews going as we go right back to our guest line. We kick off hour number 2 by bringing in the voice of the Orange, Matt Park, down in North Carolina, getting you set for the Orange and the Tar Heels. Matt, great to have you on. How has the trip been so far?
Just about ready to take off, actually.
Oh, all right.
Waiting to go through security here in a minute.
There you go. Okay, so you're not down there quite yet. All right, let's start with the change in starting lineup, right? We saw Naheem McLeod forced out due to injury. Judah Mintz forced out due to some disciplinary action. Let's start with McLeod. How big of a deal is this for the Orange that he's out an indefinite amount of time and could be a significant amount of time?
Yeah, I think that second part of it is what will really tell, because if it's, let's just say it's season ending, and we have no reason to think that it is, but if it is, then you're just sort of locked in to not having all your options. And I don't care what your point of view is on, depth and how much you actually use the bench. You always at least want to have the options and the ability to find some extra minutes. That being said, Naheem has not been a huge factor this year. I think he's outperformed his stats, but his stats have not been very good. I heard you guys before. I agree with you that in this particular matchup, maybe you'd like to throw him at Armando Bacot more so than you would be concerned about him against, say, Quentin Post or some of these other more mobile big guys that step out. So you're better off with him than without. Obviously, he's out for the short term, and there'll be some work put into figuring out exactly what his issue is and how to fix it. Because Malik Brown's a great player, but he's not a 38-minute-a-game guy, and you're going to have to find those minutes from other people who have been hit or miss when you talk about Kyle Cuff and Benny Williams and some others. So they're definitely losing size without Naheem available.
As for the Judah thing, sounds like it was very minor. Adrian Autry said that. Jerry McNamara kind of reiterated that to me the other day, saying that it's over and done with. Everybody's willing to move on from it. But in a way, is it kind of a good thing when those things happen, because it shows, hey, the coaching staff is willing to take disciplinary action against the best player? Does that have a trickle-down effect to everybody and kind of establish, okay, this is the standard of what we're looking for here. Everybody's got to live up to it, including the best player?
Yeah, I look at it that way. In fact, I would even take issue with the use of the word minor just to put a little spin on it. It's a minor infraction of something that is important.
Right.
And you don't have to apologize for holding everybody accountable to being where you need to be and being on time and fully taking part in team activities. And those things do matter. They're not minor, but it was a minor infraction and not a huge deal where he needs to be made a big example of. But when your best, we always talk about in the past, Andy Routins was a great example. I don't think Andy was the best player, but he was a very good player, a starting player that was the guy who was first in the sprints up and down the floor after missed free throws and that type of thing. And that it sets the tone when that type of player, that sees a significant time and whatever, still does all the right things from an effort standpoint and accountability and all of that. And so I think it absolutely does matter to the rest of the team to see Judah reminded that that stuff matters when there's team rules and whatever they need to be paid attention to.
And Matt, sticking with Judah, voice of the Orange, Matt Park on the show. In that BC game, I thought personally I saw less aggressiveness from him. He wasn't getting to the rim as much. He said after the game that the not starting didn't impact that. But did you see what I thought I saw? And do you think it was something BC did? Do you think it was him, or did it just not happen?
Yes, I mean, I saw it. I took it as, I don't know that it's appropriate to call it pouting, but I would just say it was connected to not starting, and it's over. I think everybody has their feelings hurt for one reason or another, and that's what I attribute it to. I think he, didn't come in guns a-blazing after not starting, and he ended up playing about his normal minutes and scoring about his normal points, and, I think that everybody can kind of move on.
All right, let's turn our attention to North Carolina now, and it's a team that's obviously very impressive, 7th in the country for a reason, unbeaten in conference play. What stands out to you about this particular team?
Well, they're veteran nature. I think they've got a lot of answers. They've got guys who've been there, done that. They've got exactly what you think Carolina would have, highly recruited players and then seasoned players. I mean, as soon as Armando Bacot decided to come back for yet another season, you know that North Carolina's already got a major influence in the middle. And if they add anything else, they're obviously got a chance to be great. And that's what they've got. They've got the mix that you typically would expect Carolina to have with other experienced transfers in that help them in that way. And then highly recruited, when you keep an R.J. Davis and the experience level that he's got in the production, and you add the Elliot Cadeaus of the world that were highly recruited, you've got, quite a combination and certainly very high standards at Carolina, and that's what they've got so far.
What's the biggest key, you think, to this game tomorrow? Is it rebounding? Is it, SU's defense? Is it three-point shooting? What do you see as being the X factor for this game?
Well, I think it's all of those because, each game is its own thing, but any of them can rise or fall on any of those factors. I think, for Syracuse, they're not a team that's going to go in and light anybody up by knocking down 12 threes. At least they haven't done that to this point, so it's unlikely they're going to go into the Dean Dome and do it. You got to keep from getting obliterated on the boards if possible. That's always been a major factor in the Carolina games. And, at the risk of parroting what Adrian Autry says, you have to be at your best for as close as possible to 40 minutes. And, in their losses, they haven't kept it up. I totally agree with what Jones said and what you guys said when he was on, is like, look, the games that Syracuse lost were the teams that are at least as good, if not better, and probably clearly better in most cases. And those were 25-minute games, and then they got out of hand. That could very well happen in this one. But for it to be competitive down to the stretch, you're going to have to really play well for 38 to 40 minutes.
Matt, we've got some people in the Q Sports Talk chat earlier in the show who believe that Syracuse utilizing the press will be a key to pulling off a big win. UNC has 8 guys averaging 10-plus minutes a game. They're a veteran, athletic team. Do you see the press being a tool they can realistically utilize to try to steal that game tomorrow, or do you think it might come back to bite them if they try to run it against that Tar Heels team?
Yeah, I don't see that. I think Malik Brown in particular is somebody you have to protect from getting into foul trouble. If I'm North Carolina, that's one of the very first things I'm thinking about doing is trying to get Brown out of the game and on the bench, because I think it drastically changes who Syracuse is and what they can do. And when Malik's at his best, when Malik's coming off the bench and he's maybe not worried about his foul count or how many minutes he's going to get, he picks up people at 40 feet or at midcourt and pokes the ball into the backcourt and creates havoc that way. And when they press, you have to do that. But that just invites fouls. So I would be a little surprised if that happened and was effective.
One thing Jerry McNamara said to me yesterday was, we all have to start thinking about Malik Brown as Defensive Player of the Year in this conference, at least, give him some consideration. What are your thoughts on what Malik Brown has done? Because he's proven himself to be not only one of the best players on this team, but truly one of the best players in this conference, isn't he?
Yeah, there's no question. And you know how those things happen. At the end of the year, everybody looks at, stats. Who's up in the steals list? Who's up in the blocks list? And, some algorithm goes into that, and you pick your Defensive Player of the Year. Malik Brown, at the moment, 15 games in, averages a block a game. He's got 13. And he averages, better than 2 steals per game. He's got 33. He's only playing more as time goes on and as Naheem is unavailable. So his stats are going to probably be there. At the end of the year, how many games will he have started? Will he have won a game or really impacted one on a notable, visible stage? If you're really thinking about his candidacy specifically for that kind of award, that's kind of what you're going to need to see. But his skills are evident. His hands are so fast. He bodies up people. He plays very big for being listed at 6'8". He doesn't look that big. I mean, I stand next to him. We're about to go get on the team bus on the plane here. You don't look at him and go, oh my God, this guy's a giant or some sort of NBA body or whatever. But he is awfully effective and fun to watch.
And then lastly, Matt, before we let you go, I mean, how do you see this thing playing itself out tomorrow? What does Syracuse need to do to have a good chance at the end?
Yeah, we got to make shots and keep them from getting on any kind of run. You got to rebound. I mean, until I see otherwise, I just know how difficult it is and has been historically for Syracuse to win at Carolina. It's not that they haven't had competitive games. They just haven't seen it all the way through. Typically, they're crushed on the boards by Carolina. And, if the gap on the boards is, 15 or higher, you're begging for problems. So I think, they've got to mitigate that a little bit and play as complete a game as possible. That being said, Carolina's got to play against Syracuse, and it's a big stage for Judah. The guys who, quote unquote, play better on the road, they've got to do it. You just need, there's too many no-shows right now for this team on the season to feel really confident about them winning on the road against the top 10 team. If they can play absent those and everybody that's in contributes, then sure, they can beat anybody.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, we'll all be listening. 12 o'clock tip tomorrow inside the Dean Dome. Matt, thanks so much for coming on. Have a safe trip, and we'll talk to you again next week.
All right, sounds good, guys. Thanks.
All right, Voice of the Orange, Matt Park joining us here on the show, Jordan.
Matt Park's worked with Paulie Sibilia for an awful long time. So I can almost guarantee you there have been times he's wanted to put Paulie in some sort of submission hold, but assuming the Bills win, Steve, you're going to be the one to get that honor, and that's going to be only at the Wildcat Pub WrestleCuse event. Now, if you're a wrestling fan, you can't miss out. Kurt Angle, the Nasty Boys, Sergeant Slaughter, the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, they're all going to be there, plus exciting indie matches as well. You'll get the legends, you'll get the action. It's going to be great. So go to WrestleCuse. You're going to get those tickets $25 each, WrestleCuse.com. Those will get you into the event, access to view the Excite Wrestling ring for those matches, watch a live Q&A with wrestling journalist Bill Apter. And again, if you're a wrestling fan, wrestling is coming to Syracuse. What building is it in, Steve? The Horticulture Building.
Very good.
It's shocking how easy that was.
Very good.
Horticulture.
He's gotten better. Last 4 times he's nailed it.
Horticulture.
Yes.
10 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturday, February 3rd, WrestleCuse.com.
I really hope the Bills win. For a lot of reasons, I hope the Bills win.
Horticulture.
Yes. It's the word of the day. All right, we're going to hit a timeout. Tom Walters, Director of Communications at the Onondaga Community Public Libraries. He will join us next to tell us about the special Syracuse Crunch MLK Day game coming up on Monday and how the public libraries are involved with that. We're back after this on ESPN Radio.